In 1831, Belgium had a king. Well, technically they didn't, but also they kind of did. Let me explain. Picture this. It's 1830, and Belgium doesn't exist yet. Well, it exists geographically. There are people there eating waffles, speaking multiple languages at each other, but as a country, not so much. They're stuck under Dutch rule, and they are not happy about it. The Dutch king, William I, has been forcing everyone to speak Dutch, messing with their Catholic schools, and generally being the kind of ruler you'd describe as aggressively annoying. So the Belgians do what any reasonable people would do. They rebel. And they win. Suddenly, Belgium is independent. Congratulations, you're a real country now. You've got borders, a flag, and an identity crisis, because now you need to figure out what kind of government you want. The provisional government decides, let's be a constitutional monarchy. That's very fashionable right now in Europe. Great idea. Just one problem. They don't have a king. So the National Congress gets together and says, we need someone to run things while we find an actual king. Someone calm, competent, and willing to do the job without getting too attached to it. Enter Érasme Louis Surlet de Chokier. He's a lawyer, a politician, a reasonable man with an extremely complicated name. He's also, and this is important, not particularly ambitious. On February 25th, 1831, the National Congress basically says, hey, Surlet, can you just be in charge for a bit? We're shopping around for a real king, but in the meantime, someone's got to sign the paperwork. And Surlet de Chokier says, sure, not sure I shall rule with an iron fist, or sure, let me commission some statues of myself. Just sure. He becomes the regent of Belgium. Now, here's where it gets weird. As regent, Surlet de Chokier has all the powers of a king. He's the head of state. He signs laws. He commands the military. He meets with foreign dignitaries. He does everything a king does, except he's not called king. He's called regent, which, honestly, is just a less cool word for the same job. So what does Surlet de Chokier do with his kingly powers? He governs responsibly. I know, riveting. He doesn't throw lavish parties. He doesn't start wars. He doesn't marry a foreign princess, or build a palace, or declare himself emperor of the waffle. He just does the job. He helps stabilize the new country. He works with the National Congress. He keeps things running smoothly while they search for a proper monarch. And he does this for 7 months. From February to July 1831, Belgium is effectively ruled by a man who has all the power of a king, none of the title, and absolutely zero interest in making a big deal about it. In June 1831, the Belgian Congress finally finds their guy, Leopold of Saxe-Coburg. Leopold is perfect. He's got royal blood. He's connected to half the royal families in Europe. He's diplomatically savvy. He's also recently widowed from a British princess, which makes him sympathetic and available. On July 21st, 1831, Leopold takes the oath and becomes King Leopold I of Belgium. And Surlet de Chokier? He steps down. No drama, no complaints. No, but I've been doing this job for months. Don't I get a crown? He just goes back to being a regular politician. He serves in the Senate for a while. He lives a quiet life. He dies in 1839, 8 years after his regency, and is buried without much fanfare. Here's the thing. Surlet de Chokier was functionally Belgium's first head of state. But because he was never called a king, and because he never acted like he wanted to be remembered as one, history just forgot him. Ask someone to name the first leader of Belgium, and they'll say Leopold I, which is technically correct, but also not really. He's the anti-Napoleon, the un-Caesar, the man who could have grabbed power and glory, but instead said, "Nah, I'm just here to help." And then he did. And then he left. So the next time you're in Belgium, maybe spare thought for Érasme Louis Surlet de Chokier, the regent who was basically a king, the leader who never wanted to be remembered. The man who did the job stepped aside and let history forget him. Because sometimes the strangest thing a person can do in history is absolutely nothing to be remembered for. Strange history. Because sometimes the most interesting people are the ones who didn't want to be interesting at all.